Morning, I addressed you on the issue that he's here, firstly, as an invited witness, and also secondly, as an implicated person. And therefore, the threshold of his testimony is mostly persuaded by those two factors. Given the fact that he's implicated, the issues that need to be addressed, particularly pertaining to the solidarity judgment, that is the SABCA judgment. The issues about the suspension and the letters, firstly, the notices of disciplinary inquiries, they're separate. There were 8 different notices of disciplinary inquiry. They were not all identical. I think those are the issues that need to be put across to him, other than just the issue of the suspension letter to assist the process. That's my address, Chair.
No, that's fine. But you will remember that at some stage when I asked him whether he played any part in the decision to suspend or to dismiss the journalist referred to as SABC 8, I said some of them were involved in the decision to dismiss, some of them suspend, some of them or all of them. It was precisely because I appreciated that we might well have a situation where he may have been involved in some and not others, and I didn't want to put it as a blanket thing. And then my understanding of his evidence is that he was saying he was not involved, he did not take part in any decision to suspend or dismiss any of them. That's my understanding of his evidence. You remember that part when I was asking him?
I do recollect that part, Chair. Just that it's that they kept on being to and fro's surrounding the letter of suspension. Hence, that's why I became a bit perturbed and anxious that that issue needs to be ventilated before we proceed this afternoon. Why I'm saying so, because I've always seen a suspension is akin to an arrest, because when you arrest a person, you don't normally, you might arrest them on suspicion of a certain offense, but when you charge that person, you might charge them with different offenses, other than the one that you might have arrested for. So I think those are the issues that need to be portrayed before this forum.
That's fine. If there are any letters of suspension or dismissals that you suggest the evidence leader also bring to his attention, you may do so. But it may be, if he didn't take part in the decision to suspend or dismiss, it might be irrelevant. But you can just exercise, reflect on it. If you think there is some importance, share the information with the evidence leader. She might then put that to him. If that's fine,
I say so, Chair, because there have been Rule 3.3 notices pertaining to the testimony of most of those SABC 8 with Mrs. Tandega Kubule Mbeki, and then there's also Ms. Pillay, and there's some who are still I don't know if there are any who are still to testify before this forum, but suffice to say that is the issue of that they've implicated him in their affidavits. Hence, that's why I think it is important also.
Insofar as they implicated him, I'm sure the evidence leader will put that to him and give him a chance to deal with it. Of course, to the extent that they may have said, if that is what they said, that he was involved in the decision to suspend them or dismiss them, he has said he was not. Whether or not in the end that is what is accepted is another issue. But I think the evidence leader will probably put that to him. But when the evidence leader is done, you can make notes. When she is done, and there are certain areas which you feel maybe were not touched that are important, you can raise the issue again.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Just before lunch, I was going to deal with those allegations by the various members of the SABC 3. But also, Chair, maybe we should, with your leave, I should just deal with the notices as they are captured in the judgment.
That's fine.
Briefly, so that then we can satisfy that complaint. Thank you. Chair, if I may go back to Exhibit CC5 to 16.
which
the judge,
exhibit?
Exhibit CC5 to 16, Chair, where there is that Labour Court judgment.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
I
Thank you,
think
Chair.
I'm still in the
You
same
still have
place.
it in front of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We read out the one that appears at page 86, which is the notice of suspension. And I don't think we should repeat it, but then there is another one that where there's charges at page 87. And this paragraph relates to, on 29 June, all 3 employees received letters notifying them of the institution of disciplinary proceedings in the following terms. You are hereby notified to attend a disciplinary hearing to be held on Friday, 1 July 2016. Charge 1, non-compliance with the duties of your contract of employment. Alternatively, contravention of SABC rules and regulations, in that you, in your capacity as a reporter for radio news in Johannesburg, allegedly liaised with the media, that is the Star, on 28 June 2016, the Times, 28 June 2016, ENCA, letter drafted and signed by you and provided to ENCA, and News 24, letter drafted and signed by you and provided to ENCA, without having had permission to do so. In doing so, it is alleged that you contravene Regulation 2D of the SABC's personnel regulations, that is, an employee shall not, without prior consent of the group chief executive, make any comments in the media, or should these facts be proven, it will constitute an act of non-compliance with the duties of your contract of employment on your part, alternatively contravening SABC rules and regulations. You'll be entitled to the following: to be represented by a co-employee of the corporation or a union representative who is an employee of the corporation should you be a member of a recognized trade union, to call witnesses to testify in support of your case, to cross-examine the employer's witnesses, to have access to documentation that will be used by the initiator, and to request the services of an interpreter should it be necessary. The disciplinary panel will consist of, should you have any objection against any of the panel members or any other queries in this regard, you are requested to contact the initiator. And then there is a letter which was addressed to Mr. Krige. In paragraph 20 of the judgment, the judge records the contents of the letter addressed to Mr. Krige on 30 June, which contained a slightly different charge. It read, you are herewith notified to attend a disciplinary hearing to be held on Friday, 1 July 2016 and at 9 at the SABC offices in Johannesburg in order to investigate the following alleged offenses brought against you. Charge 1, non-compliance with the duties of your contract of employment, alternatively insubordination, alternatively insolence, in that you, in your capacity as the executive producer, RSG News and Current Affairs, during a radio news line talk meeting held on Monday, 20 June 2016, you allegedly categorically distance yourself from the instruction issued by the SABC management not to cover the Right to Know movement marches in Cape Town, Durban and Auckland Park, that is campaigning against the SABC's decision not to broadcast violent protests. Should these facts be proven, it will constitute an act of non-compliance with the duties of your contract of employment on your part, alternatively insubordination, alternatively insolence. Should these facts be proven, it will constitute an act of non-compliance with the duties of your contract of employment on your part, alternatively insubordination, alternatively insolence. The panel will consist of, you will be entitled of the following: to be represented by a co-employee.
Yeah, no, I don't think
yes,
you
then
need
you
to
don't have to read that part.
Yeah.
Chair,
But also with regard to what you have read, I'm not
Yes.
sure in relation to Mr. Motsoeneng
a response,
would be
yes.
relevant. Yeah.
I think, Chair, so as not to be seen as if I was selective in the manner in which I put those, maybe just to deal with them.
I think maybe what Mr. Motsoeneng's counsel might do is just make notes
Yes.
of which ones he would have liked you to raise with him, and then later on when you are done,
Yes.
he will give you the
Then
note.
we can
you look at
revisit
it.
those areas.
If you have difficulty, he can address me, or I could allow him to re-examine Mr. Motsoeneng.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Motsoeneng, there is your responses to the chairperson before lunch that you were not involved in any of those disciplinaries or notices or charges. Those that are read this afternoon, does your answer apply to those as well?
Yes, Chair, because SABC is guided by its own policy. There is a process before you can charge a person that you need to follow. So I can only charge or discipline people who report directly to me. So
Yes.
line managers, according to the policy, they will do
Yes.
whatever that they need to do to deal with that issue.
Thank you, Chair. May I just put, before we deal with other matters, the allegations against you as contained in the Rule 33 notices that you received from some of the SABC 8 witnesses who testified. Chair, this is still at CC 5 to 16. It will be CC 16. This is the evidence that Mr. Mwaba Piri had given before you.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe before you do that, I meant to ask this earlier, Mr. Motsoeneng, but I don't know if I had a particular reason not to ask it. You know, quite a few times, both yesterday and today, you referred to the fact that I think you said the Act, but I think it's the regulations, the CASA regulations, prohibit encouraging or glamorizing, that's the term it uses, violence. Is that right?
Yes, Chair.
Yes. Just in case it might be relevant, what is your understanding of what this regulation prohibits when it says you may not glamorize violence, in effect, because that's what it says? What would you regard as glamorizing violence in the context of a television station?
Chairperson, I think I did allude to the issue that South Africa, including Africa, Chairperson, it is very important to have role models. When it talks about glamorizing these visuals, what the Act deal with is the issue that those issues are not in the public interest. That is my understanding. They are not in the public interest. Remember, Chair, we quoted that paragraph when it comes to that regulations. But this regulation, Chairperson, you will find some of the issues that I'm referring to in Broadcasting Act, what you call in the SABC, some of them in the ICASA regulations, but in one act, this booklet that I was having, Chairperson. So it talks to each other, what I'm saying, Chairperson. And I want to put it again, Chairperson, as we agreed, Chairperson, my understanding still sticks the same. Yes, Chairperson, it doesn't change what we have already been dealing with, Chairperson.
You see, in terms of what we agreed, I think we both would say if a television station simply shows visuals of the burning of a building, property by protesters, that doesn't or should not on its own constitute glamorizing violence. It must mean something much more than that. What it is, I don't know, but it couldn't be that this was meant to say television stations shouldn't do that. obviously they do it all the time, and if ICASA thought that was a breach of the regulations, action would have been taken all along. So that would be my understanding of where you and I would be on this issue.
Chairperson, I want to submit. I want to say to you, Chair. You see, Chairperson. Let's just talk maybe general before I can come to the point, Chairperson. We should ask ourselves why media, general, not even SABC, generally. What you see on media is all negative stories, no positive. And earlier, Chairperson, you alluded to a very important issue about balancing all these stories. Media is not even attempting to do that. Their agenda is to make sure that they portray South Africa and certain individuals that they don't agree with them, portray them in a certain way. Also portray, Chairperson, and I'm talking from my heart now, also portray us as black people as if we are useless. Everything that we do is not really what we are supposed to do. We don't know the how. That is how I see media, Chairperson. Everything that they do, even if you watch television, you can ask your own kids, what are you learning from what you have been watching television? It's crime. It's all about these issues. I'm not saying people should not report about these issues, Chairperson. What kind of a society do we want to see ourselves? So those are the issues, Chairperson. And I'm against, Chairperson, to push for the issue of glamorizing this violence or inciting those visuals. It is correct. I want to submit, the Chairperson, to you, it is wrong.
Yes, but I think what I was looking at is whether you are able to make any contribution to maybe a better understanding of what the regulations have in mind, as with your experience in journalism and in the media, what they have in mind when they say, thou shalt not glamorize violence, because it can't be, or that's how I see it, it can't be that the mere showing. Probably there must be something much more than the mere showing of what happened.
My understanding, Chairperson, is you may show, but it should not be a norm. That every time when you watch television, you watch just this burning of building or clinics or whatever. I mean, we should try to balance the act, Chairperson, but not forgetting that you should not show explicit visuals, Chairperson. That is my understanding.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Ms. Nombo.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr. Motsoeneng, Mr. Mwaba Phiri testified, and he also submitted a statement to the Commission. But I will just read, summarize what he said in paragraph 6 at page 2 of his statement. He has a subheading that says changes to editorial policy. I will read one paragraph and I would like you to just comment so that we save time. When Public Protector Hlaudi Motsoeneng released the report, When Governance and Ethics Fail, on February 17, 2014, the SABC newsroom was heavily shrouded by a fear that the main newsmaker, Hlaudi, would not be allowed into the studios for any interviews. Her report was negative about the SABC COO, Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng, recommending corrective action to be done on him. What is your response to that?
Chairperson, Mr. Phiri, I think I know him when he was attending interviews, applying for a group executive. That is the relationship that I can say I have seen him. I have engaged him in that because I was one of the panelists.
You are part of the panel that interviewed him.
Yes, Chairperson. Talking about the issues that he's talking about, I know nothing about those issues. I know, I don't know those issues. Even, Chair, I mean, people have been talking about Hlaudi, criticizing Hlaudi. I have never said people should not put such stories. Even not the SABC that I'm in charge for. I have never fight to say I want to be on the platform to respond on this issue. So it's a non-issue from me, Chairperson. I don't know what informs him to say that, but I deny such allegations, Chairperson.
Thank you. And then paragraph 7, given the fact that Mr. Motsoeneng had been unilaterally handed rein over the SABC editorial by the then Minister of Communications, Ms. Faith Mutambi, and his autocratic attitude, no SABC editorial staff wanted to be in conflict with him.
Hi, Chairperson. How do I answer that? Because I don't know what I know from SABC. That's why, Chairperson, when my counsel was saying we should play those visuals, I was looking to take you into the SABC. Exactly what is happening when I have been there at the SABC and what is the vibe within the SABC, because these people, they portray lies, Chairperson, and I want to repeat, they portray lies in this commission and outside, because that is what, I mean, in the SABC, Chairperson, they will tell you the most person who involves staff, who discuss with staff, it's me. They were even calling me a doctor, Chairperson. In the staff corridors of the SABC, if you are sick, they will say, go to that doctor. So it can't be correct, Chairperson, when people come and mislead the commission. But to be honest, Chairperson, I think they're just creating vibe in my own view, and I don't want to dwell with these issues because I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, I don't know which one of the witnesses, but I recall that at least I think one, it may be more than one,
Yes, Chair.
said that you were feared and at the SABC, you were very influential, as I understood it. So maybe you might say influential, yes. Feared, I don't know, or yes, I was feared.
Chair, I will submit to you that my view and their view, the only test to test that is for you to view the visuals within SABC. That will be the test, Chairperson, because I can say this, and they say this, but what will be the test? The test is to go inside the SABC. But I think even Dr. Ngobani, partly, he did respond about the relationship between me and labor, including workers itself, Chairperson. Even today, Chairperson, I'm not their boss there. They still call me their boss. Even today, I mean, the relationship, it is true, Chairperson, I'm very tough on the decision that I have taken. But it doesn't mean that people fear me. There were robust decisions in the SABC where we discuss issues and interaction with staff itself, Chairperson.
Yes.
So it is not true.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
But if, Chairperson, someone fear you, what I'm going to say?
Yes.
You may just fear me by walking here. You fear me.
Well, I was going to say, well, you might not even know if somebody fears you. You might not know. The question is whether you have done anything wrong that makes them fear you. Sometimes people can have a certain attitude towards you, not because you have done anything wrong, but because of the way you are, and so on. And sometimes you have no control of you might not have control over that.
Yes, Chair, I agree. You know, as Africans, Chair, I think you'll know that even some people just walking there, was out, hey, lo muntu, unento lo muntu lo, uthwele lo muntu lo. It's just perception of people, Chairperson, to be honest. As you are saying, you can't really say this. I mean, if people fear you, I don't know how. Because I was not feared at the SABC, I was engaging the staff of the SABC.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And then in paragraph 15, he says the newsroom was at the time abuzz with Mr. Motsoeneng's close ties with President Jacob Zuma.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you might wish to raise your voice, I think.
Sorry,
yeah.
because I'm looking down. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, because you are looking down.
Thank you. Paragraph 15. Sorry, Chair. The newsroom was at the time abuzz with Mr. Motsoeneng's close ties with President Jacob Zuma, and inviting a person like Mr. Malema was going to be seen as an affront to our boss's reputed relation with President Zuma. Do you have any response to that?
Is the same person who's saying this?
Yes.
Chairperson, it is very difficult to respond on these issues because I have never talked to this guy on the editorial issues of the SABC. So, to be honest, I can just deny, Chairperson.
Thank you. And then, if you may then move to the statement of Ms. Thandeka Gqubule Mbeki. She says at paragraph 6.2 of her statement, she had headed 6.1 as political interference in the news agenda and mandate of the SABC. My dismissal and that of the group known as the SABC 8 for their objection to the protest policy introduced by Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng, former COO of the SABC in 2016, and his cohorts, the editorial policy of 2016. What is your answer to that?
Chairperson, the policy of the SABC goes through all the process that I have alluded to. Your subcommittee of the board, including the approval of the board. If you check the minutes of the SABC, which are there in those documents, you'll realize that it went through all the process. It was presented in the board meeting, because my job is to present at the subcommittee. But when it goes to the board, the chairperson of that subcommittee or a member presents the policy. So it has nothing to do, it's not a Hlaudi issue, it is an SABC issue.
Yes. And then at paragraph 14, she says, we visited the Inspector General of Intelligence and wrote to him, Dr. Dintwe, severally. We were promised a report but never received one. It has been over 2 years of correspondence with his office to no avail. He, however, did tell us that 5 intelligence agents were sent and deployed at the SABC at the request of Mr. Motsoeneng.
Chairperson, with due respect, that paragraph is misleading. I know about the matter, and I have alluded it into my affidavit that it is true that they were called, because SABC, it is a national key point. But the person who wrote a letter, it was the chairperson of the board, Professor Maguve. Because when it comes to security agency, there are processes. They don't just do stuff. They can't go there to say, hey, this is what I want you to do. There are protocols that they must follow. But they came, reason being, as a national key point. But the person who wrote, it was Professor Maguve. It is true that they interact with me and other senior managers within SABC to get more information about the vetting issue. Example, how do we deal with vetting issue? The private company that are working at the SABC, whether they are vetted and by who? Chairperson, those were issues. Nothing wrong about such issues, Chairperson. They were there, but I can't talk on. I can't talk. They should talk themselves. Even their findings about all those issues. I'm just clarifying this point, Chairperson. Thank
you, Chair. And then I move on to Mr. Jacob Krige. His statement is CC 12. He, in paragraph 14.4, he recorded that at a meeting that you held with them, when you introduced this decision, he queried it and wanted to know whether any research had been done before you took the decision. And your response was, I do not believe in research. You must defend the organization. No journalist is independent. The COO has the final responsibility for news.
That question was not about it was not a policy issue, Chairperson. The issue of that program, which happened even before democracy, and you should ask yourself, why do you have a program that has been running since before 1995, is still even running currently? In the SABC, we always change the programs, but this one, it has never changed. So we must change that program. Because, Chairperson, and the person who's talking there, if I remember well, he was in charge for RSG. And I have been vocal publicly so about that radio station to say it seems as this station, it is an island operating outside SABC. And Chairperson, I can tell you, I don't know Afrikaans, but I was informed by Jimmy Matthews and other people who listen to that program to say, but there's a problem here. If you don't listen to this RSG, we are going to have serious problems because it seems as they are not part of South Africa. They push certain agenda. Remember, there is those guys in the Northern Cape where they are saying they have their own land. So RSG, I said we must stick and monitor them and get involved. So my issue when it comes to that issue, it has been informed by information that I've got from senior management, not just people outside, including senior management, to say, watch the space there about that program, Chairperson. Because I don't know Afrikaans, I use the information that I've got from people. But Chairperson, the issue here is people are fighting for editors forum. I think they call it, if I'm correct, yes. They call the program editors forum. My view was this program, you can't advertise newspapers. And also, Chairperson, it is informed by what I have been saying to the journalists of the SABC. I said to them, I want to see journalists of the SABC being on the street, being with newsmakers. You should not follow the newspapers. The newspapers, they should follow the SABC. Even the analyst, Chairperson, I said, why do you prefer most analysts from outside? And I'm not saying they should not talk to analysts from outside, but I'm saying you also have people inside SABC who are capable to deal with these issues. And when it comes to this issue of analyst, Chairperson, I said you can't use one voice. I said, no, I disagree, and I'm not going to allow you to use one voice. You wake up in the morning, every day is one person who's analyzing. And I said, I want two women in those programs. And it did happen, Chairperson. Women were appointed as analysts in those programs. But this program, Chairperson, I still believe we could not allow a program. Why is this program untouchable? When other programs have been changing, Chairperson, sometimes, Chairperson, in broadcasting, you may even change the program that is doing well, believing that what you are going to put is going to take even higher audience rather than that program. So it has other history, that program, Chairperson. I know maybe just to deal with the issue of newspapers, because they refer to SAFM. Their Chairperson, I said, my problem with these newspapers, you promote them every day in our platform, but they don't promote us in their own platform, so we can't advertise for them. That is where Rao chairperson. I can hear people chairperson when I say Rao.
Oh, is it not his name?
No, chairperson.
What is Rao?
Rao is like a chaos.
Eh?
It's like chaos, chairperson.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Rao is like.
You can see how bad I am with.
Yes, chairperson.
Yes.
It's like a chaos because this journalists, these people, they were fighting for these newspapers to be promoted. They even went and have, and chairperson, I'm not a racist, to mobilize other white people to oppose this decision. But I could not allow a situation where you have a program that has been there before 1995. I mean, all the program has changed, everything has changed at the SABC. Why you will have this RS here operating as if it is an island? You can see, chairperson, even yourself, people when they were talking, when they were here, we must also check the background of the people. What do they stand for? What agenda they are pushing? Within the organization, we are a public broadcaster. Everyone should align to what we are saying, chairperson. And that is not like dictating to people, but I'm accountable. I must account.
Yes. And then he says at paragraph 16.1 that at a pre-election workshop that you all attended, this is what you said. The SABC is independent. No individual is independent. There is an agenda for the corporation driven by 3 directors, the CEO, COO, and CFO. Do not focus on negative stories. Important that you balance stories. Tell human stories. Is politicians not human beings? Reporters at the SABC do not want the world. When they report, they mislead listeners. Go to America, there is poverty. They don't show it. They don't show when the soldiers die. I'll take you to the BRICS countries. You can just go to a hotel. You will see South Africa is better. Look at your editorial policy. We have removed news and replaced with content. If you, as SABC, mess up the organization, you mess up your life. I am in charge. News is now part of operations. We change the world. We must have news with content. I am in charge. You must adhere to my instruction. President Zuma is the president of the country. I don't regard him as ANC. You cannot treat him the same. We will give him more time, and you can question everyone, Mantashe et al., except our president. We need to respect him, especially you, SABC. I expect you to align you with my instruction. Did you say that, or do you recall saying that?
Chairperson, what advocate is reading, Advocate Norman, is correct. When it comes, I think what is key there, Chairperson, if you listen, is I said balance, which all of us, I think, we are in agreement. And I want to clarify, Chairperson, that I know President Zuma, but he's not my friend. So I'm not close to him like people saying I'm close to President Zuma. I know him, Chairperson, and I have been in struggle, Chairperson. Some people, they don't know this because I don't brag about it. But mine behind the scene, Chairperson. That's why people, they don't know about these issues. So, Chairperson, when it comes to President Zuma, I follow this act. Not him, any individual. There were times where media and SABC generally, they were calling him names on live programs. I said to them, whether you like President Zuma or you don't like him, he's the president of the country. But even if you don't like him, mind your language. It is very important. Respect him as the president. I will say the same to you, Deputy Chief Justice. If the people use wrong language, I will say don't use this language. It is not acceptable. And I'm on record, even on the public platforms, Chairperson, dealing with the issue of the language. And dealing with the issue, Chair, I know Advocate didn't put this question to me. about during the workshop, elections workshop, I said to them, you see, you must make sure that there is difference between the president of the country and the president of the ANC. There is difference, Chairperson. When you deal with your own ANC issues in the Tule House, now that head is ANC. But when you deal with the country, you are the president of the country. This is what I was saying to at workshop. But the issue there, Chairperson, I said to them, the president of the country, he must account to the public. Because people are raising issues because we are going for elections. They are not asking ANC. They are raising the issues about government, the same service delivery. I said he must be given more time on those issues to explain. And not because it's Zuma. Even when I was executive producer during President Thabo Mbeki, I did the same thing. Chairperson, even when I was journalist during President Mandela, I did the same thing. Let them explain. So I'm the president of the African Content Movement today, Chairperson. I still accept that. I can't get time equally so with President Ramaphosa. Even now, I still accept that. So that was the issue, Chairperson, to say separate ANC issues and government issues. And I even make example with the same people of the ANC, the former Secretary General, Minister Gwede Mantashe, including President Zuma, and say, but equally, remember, this one is representing the country. You can't give them equal time, Chairperson. Nothing wrong about it.
Yes. And then Ms. Krivani Pillay, from paragraphs 15 to 18, I will just summarize what she says because you've touched upon the editors forum, that you removed a program that had been there since 1994, and she alleged that you did that unilaterally, and by doing so, she says you silenced the diversity of views. You have already touched on this slightly, but could you just directly respond to it?
No, by cancelling the program that I believe it has been pushing apartheid views on the SABC, it can't be compared by me silencing views. In any case, Chairperson, just to demonstrate, I said to the SABC people, and I make example, I said, if the minister is going to unveil the houses, building of the houses, that project, the stories within people, you go and interview them, the voices of the people. This is what the Broadcasting Act says. I said, the minister is just part, but go and make sure that you do and you talk to people. It can't be, I was making sure that I silence the views of people. I'm the most person, Chairperson. When you talk about the content, that is what I stand for, the voice of ordinary citizen of South Africa. That is misleading.
Thank you. Maybe if you could just go back to your statement now. Sorry, we have not been there at all today, but it's CC30.
I'm comfortable,
You're comfortable, all right.
Advocate.
Because I wouldn't want you to say I had skipped. I have marked most of your evidence that you've given goes right up to, I'll tell you now. Sorry, Chair, if I may just
Yeah, are you done with putting to him what some of the witnesses said?
Yes.
Oh, okay. While you are looking for where you will continue
Where we left
from,
off from
I
yesterday.
just want to
Yes.
to mention this, Mr. Motsoeneng, which I've just seen in the booklet that is titled SABC Editorial Policies. At page 13 of that document, and it is at page 30 in the bundle, exhibit CC 17 to CC 18. in relation to, we go back to the issue of visuals for violence and so on. It says here, in addition to the requirements of the code, the SABC's policy on violence is as follows, and then it has got bullet points. I won't read all of them, but I will read two. The first one from the top and the second one from the bottom. The first one from the top says, in other words, it says the SABC's policy on violence is, bullet point 1, to broadcast programs or scenes containing images of violence if they are needed in order to portray legitimate information or context. I thought I would just mention that this is something that we didn't touch on it, but it seems that it would be, we didn't quote it before, but it seems that it's something that should be taken into account together with whatever we dealt with earlier about
Yes, thank you,
the
Chair.
policy.
Do
you want to say something?
Respect, Chair, can I ask
Yes.
you again to repeat what did I?
Yes, it says, this is like in bold, in addition to the requirements of the code, the SABC's policy on violence is as follows. Bullet point 1, to broadcast programs or scenes containing images of violence if they are needed in order to portray legitimate information or context.
Chair, you are reading from the policy, Chair, of the
Yes.
SABC.
Yes, yes,
I think, Chair, the policy can't override
yes,
the act.
yes.
I will submit that, Chairperson.
Yes,
That's why my decision.
yes,
Sometimes I will not follow the policy because that
Yes.
policy is not aligned
yes,
with the act, Chairperson. And before I forget, Chairperson, although it is not relevant to the issues that you, but I just need to deal with the policy generally.
Yes.
Within the SABC, Chairperson. The problem within the SABC, Chairperson, why we have been having all this other problem is our policy is not even aligned with the business of the SABC. Because even when you are talking about advertising post, Chairperson, and so on, you alluded to the issue that there must be a policy guiding whether the advert
yes,
and the appointments, but most of the SABC policy, Chairperson, but which we dealt with when I was there, it was to align the policy to talk to business. One example, Chairperson, the policy will say you need 3 quotations to acquire the rights from FIFA. How many FIFAs do we have? It's only 1. So you can't have 3 quotation. I'm just giving example and demonstrating that the policy of SABC, it must be aligned with its own business. And I know that is informed by Treasury Regulation, Chairperson. And I was saying to the SABC, in this matters like this, we need exemption from Treasury because you can't get a 3 quotation. And if you don't get 3 quotation, it is irregular because that is what your policy says. So those are just issues, Chairperson, that I was saying. The policy of SAB, it should be aligned with the Act.
But you see, I think you seem to assume that what the policy says here, which I've read, is necessarily in conflict with what we read earlier on, saying don't
Dramatize.
don't glamorize
Yes.
violence. It doesn't seem to me that it is necessarily in conflict, because this one doesn't say you may broadcast scenes containing images of violence as you like. It doesn't say you can do that willy-nilly. It says it should be broadcast if, or they should be broadcast, those scenes of violence, if they are needed in order to portray legitimate information and context. So it might not say exactly the same thing, but it's not necessarily, I think, in conflict. Because what this says, it seems to emphasize that there must be some legitimacy in the information you want to put out there, or the context.
Yes, Chair, I agree with you, Chair, but not the unlawful one. As the Act says, Chairperson, like we were saying earlier, Chairperson,
Yes.
Where we were saying, I was talking about the physicality
Yes.
of those visuals. I
Yes.
think it will talk to such a issue,
Yes,
Chairperson.
yes, but remember, we made the distinction between the fact that all of us, many people will say there should be no destruction of property. There should be no burning of property because that's unlawful. There should be no debate about that. And then the only thing we're looking at is there a time when it is unlawful or contrary to the policy of the SABC or the regulations to show visuals of the burning of property and destruction of property? And what we looked at earlier on in terms of the regulations of ICASA was saying it's not allowed to glamorize violence. And you remember earlier on we talked about what your understanding is of that. And this says now, the policy of the SABC is that scenes of violence may be broadcast, but there's a condition to it. That is, if they are needed in order to portray legitimate information and context. So I'm simply saying, maybe as you listen to it, you might take the view that it's in conflict with the prohibition that we talked about earlier, which says don't glamorize, but it doesn't appear to me that it's necessarily in conflict. They might all be going the same direction, but maybe one goes further than the other.
I think, Chair, I will submit that it also talk to my issue about what kind of visuals, because everything that you do, it should be in the public interest, Chairperson.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. There's just a few paragraphs in some of the pages, and I'll mention those paragraphs which we have not touched upon. For instance, there is your evidence at page 9 of your statement.
Sorry, you are back to
back
his
to the statement, Chair,
statement.
CC 30.
Sorry, I think I need to get this out of the way.
Thank you, Chair.
And yes.
Yes.
What page of his
CC
statement?
30, Chair, page 9.
Page 9.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You deal in those paragraphs, Mr. Motsoeneng, with your own disciplinary hearing before Advocate Itling, as you say. And then you mention a few employees that when you deal with the allegation that you had purged some staff members within the SABC. And then the first person that you deal with is Ms. Dipoko. What do you say about that in reference, to the Public Protector's report?
Chairperson, I want to repeat again. I don't understand the findings of the Public Protector, because Montanyani Dipoko, Chairperson, when I was in discipline, and Public Protector directing SABC to discipline me, which they did, it was only turned by the court. Montlenyane Dipoko came to disciplinary hearing under oath, publicly so, and said, I'm shocked. I have never been in that office of the public protector. I have never been interviewed by the public protector. I'm not the one who said Hlaudi purge me, because he has never purged me. I think I don't want to take it long, Chairperson, because the testimony is there.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Montlenyane, Chairperson, is just one of them. Most of them, they said, no, they have never been there.
And you also dealt with Mr. Bernard Koma?
I just want to mention something.
Yes, sir.
I think there are at least two areas where Mr. Motsoeneng in sentences used two negatives, with the result that I think what was said is not what he intended to say. But this happens, and this is not about English. I hear a lot of people speaking isiZulu and they put two negatives, and it doesn't work.
Yes.
I see that in paragraph 32, he says, in the said inquiry, Montlenyane Dipoko attributed his departure from the SAPC to Mr. Phil Molefe, and he vehemently denied that I was never involved in his purging. So it's two negatives.
Yes,
but
true.
I think what you mean is he said you were never involved. But when you say he
reads,
denied that I
yes.
was never involved, it means you say he denied that you were not involved, meaning he said you were involved. But as I say, it happens even in isiZulu. I hear a lot of people and it goes where they don't understand. They think they've said the right thing, but it's two negatives.
Yes.
Even in news, in isiZulu, you listen, you say, okay. Or even when people are just speaking, they combine two negatives. Yes. You know what they are trying to say, but they are not saying the right thing. So,
Okay.
but I think you meant he said that you were not involved.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank
And I
you.
think the other one is on paragraph 36, where you said Bernard Koma also disputed that I never purged him.
Yes.
I think you meant he disputed that you purged him, because he said you were not involved in purging him.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have skipped just a few pages before that, pages 5, 6, 7, 8, because they deal with multi-choice. So I would rather deal with that last, with your leave. Thank you. And
That's
then
fine.
At paragraph 39 and 40, there you oh, sorry. You have your
Yes,
hand up?
Chair. Sorry, Chair. Chairperson, I think this is the opportunity to me to clarify issues. I want to elaborate on this issue of purging.
Of purging.
Yes, staff
Yes.
of the SABC, because it's the creation of the public protector.
Yes.
But the truth, Chairperson, I have submitted even the resolutions of the board and and I was not even involved, Chairperson. I have given those matters in my affidavit and attach such resolutions. And those people, Chairperson, they did not complain about me. The affidavits will explain that. So that's why, Chairperson, I'm saying I think this commission is very important for all of us in South Africa, because some of us who have been punished, I think they can even kill us, but for no reasons, Chairperson, when it is not true, because Public Protector Office, Chairperson, is a very critical and important for all of us. But when a public protector comes with such decisions and we are punished because she is a public protector, her view stands, Chairperson, it should not be allowed, because it pains us. Because reality is, Chairperson, the affidavit are there. People are saying we have never been asked, but you should ask yourself, Chairperson, why the public protector came with such a remedial action to destroy our life and destroy our children's life. I think it is unfair, Chairperson. I just want to commend on this issue, Chairperson, because even the SIU, Chairperson, I'm in court today with them. And I'm saying, Chairperson, they have tarnished my name, tainted my name, not even doing investigation, using the public protector's report, which is wrong, Chairperson, because the money that they are claiming, they are not going to win that, Chairperson, because there we know what happened. The resolutions of the board, even people who went there, but they are abusing their power and abusing the taxpayers' money. Chairperson, we must deal with these issues, Chairperson. The reason why, Chairperson, I don't even want to defend, even if my issues, whether wrong or right, is just that we must tell the truth, and the truth must prevail, Chairperson.
Yes. And again, you clarify that the public protector you refer to is the previous public protector.
Chairperson, thank you very much. Yes, I don't want to be in trouble. Yes, it is the previous one, Chairperson.
You mean you are in trouble enough with the previous one? You don't want to be in trouble with this one?
Chairperson, I'm very careful these days.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. And then in paragraph 39 and 40, you emphasize the point that the SAPC 8, they were charged for misconduct, mostly for bringing the SAPC into disrepute by their superior and not you, and even the court could not find your involvement. That's what you say in paragraph 39.
Correct, Chair.
Okay, and then in paragraph 40, you say the so-called SAPC 8 was charged for talking to the media without permission. What is amazing is that the court had ordered SAPC to take them back, but in my case, I was dismissed for the same reason.
Correct, Chair.
Yes. Then, in paragraph 42, this is where now you deal with the violent protest policy. From paragraph 42, you've dealt with this extensively with the chairperson, and not sure whether you want to add anything more, but those 3 pages, they deal with that issue. Except for paragraph 49, where your complaint seems to be different because now it's directed at the SCA judges. I don't know whether you want to deal with that, but Chair, we did alert Justice Nafsa to this paragraph telephonically. Yes.
Yes.
Chairperson, with due respect, Chairperson, I believe that Judge Nafsa went beyond the facts in front of him. But there were other judges. I'm just saying because he's the one who has written a judgment by tarnishing me about the issue of metric. In my view, he was influencing the decision that the court has already taken that I must go for disciplinary hearing. Because if you are a judge, especially from the Supreme Court of Appeal, you make such a comment, the chairperson of that hearing can unfairly dismiss me, not because of the facts that I'm presenting in front of him, because he has been influenced by the comment of the judge. And with due respect, the chairperson, I respect the courts. But I believe the judges are human beings. They also make errors, like all of us, in their work. But I'm saying, Chairperson, it is unfair. The proof today is what I have presented in this forum, Chairperson, and I respect the judges, Chairperson. Even I have been dismissed, Chairperson, during my disciplinary hearing because one of the charges was I said the judge that was dealing with the SAPC 8, in my view, he was conflicted, which is true, I said that, but that information I was given by the lawyer of the SAPC to say the judge was conflicted. And at that time, Chairperson, I was voluntarily taking leave because of the court decisions. I was called by the SAPC and the legal team to come and give a affidavit because now I was, I don't know, legally, they were joining me for the cost when
Yes.
I was not part of that. I heard that message. And then in the press conference, I said, this is what I heard from the SABC, that the judge was conflicted, but I didn't mention the judge by name. I didn't even know this judge by name. I just said, if it is true that the judge was conflicted because the wife was working for a firm, and that the judge was supposed to declare that my wife is working for this firm. It's the same issue where during the interviews of Chief Justice Mokgweng, people who were doing interview, some of them, they attack him, why he didn't declare about his wife when the wife was appearing in front of him. So it is painful, Chairperson. I have been killed, and I want to use this word, Chairperson, by some of the judges because of their comments, and other people portray me as a devil, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Then in paragraphs 52 to 56, I think you've summarized that by saying that some of these things against you are not true. And then you mentioned in paragraph 57, and I must mention to you, Mr. Motsoeneng, I put this paragraph, I read it out to Dr. Ngubane, what you said in paragraph 57. All SABC board chairpersons, Dr. Ngubane, Prof. Maguve, and Mrs. Ellen Chabalala were given a mandate to get rid of me, as I was a stumbling block for the board members who wanted to eat. But what I did not put, and I see now when I read this last night, that paragraph 58, they refused to take political instructions for my removal, and they were target as well, chairpersons. The minutes of the SAPC will confirm what I'm saying. Now, who gave this mandate, and could you explain to the chairperson what was this mandate all about?
Chairperson, maybe Chairperson Ngubane, the former board chair, I mean, it's normal. Sometimes you forget these issues. Maybe he's protecting the African National Congress because he's a member of the ANC. Now I have moved away. So sometimes it's understandable. But after what the chair said in this commission, I did call him, chairperson, to remind him about the pressure that I was supposed to be removed. Actually, he's the one who has been defending me publicly, so I mean, it will attest to the issue that I was correct, but I think it's just that he forget about that issue. But also, chairperson, in the minutes of the board meetings, if we receive those board meetings, the former chairperson, Ellen Shabalala, came into a board meeting. He was called by politicians. The mandate, the first mandate was to get rid of Hlaudi. He spoke about that issue in a board meeting. So all of them, including Professor Maguve, chairperson, they didn't budge to that political pressure or any influence from outside.
Now, I have seen some minutes of some SAB board meetings here, but the ones that you are talking about, are they here? I see Ms. Newman shakes her head that they are not here.
No, I have not seen them
Yes.
share those that deal with that.
Would you be able to give the legal team of the commission such information as would enable them to go to SABC and say, we want minutes of the board meetings of the following dates, because though you think those would be the dates where those would be reflected?
I think there are two ways, chairperson.
Yes.
Because on record, on the minutes of the SABC, the person who spoke about the issue in the board meeting, it was the former chairperson, Ellen Shabalala.
Yes.
It is recorded.
Yes.
The second point will be, the minutes are there, or former chairperson, Ellen Shabalala, she can be called to come and deal with such issues.
Yes, no, it's one thing to call her, but I'm more interested for present purposes whether there might be minutes that reflect that discussion, or if it's not minutes, I don't know if it was meetings would have been mechanically recorded. As far as you know, would there be minutes that might reflect that?
Yes, Chairperson.
Or is it possible that that part might not have been minuted?
No, if my memory serves me well, Chairperson, there are minutes on record
Yes,
dealing with that issue.
yes.
But you know, minutes, Chairperson, it doesn't give you everything.
Yeah.
Because
No,
minutes,
of
you
course,
just
yes.
summarize the
Yes,
discussion.
yes.
I think I can say
Yes.
minutes. If they are not there in the minutes, we should get transcripts.
Yes.
Yes, it will be there.
Or the meetings of the board would, there would be transcripts available.
Yes, Chairperson.
Okay, so maybe if you can then later on, either directly to the commissioner through your legal representatives, just indicate to the legal team of the commission that it would be minutes of meetings that were held between whatever date and whatever date, if you don't remember the exact dates of those meetings, so that when the SAPC is approached, they'll be able to say, look for minutes that fall between this date and that date.
Maybe just to elaborate, Chairperson, the reason why Mr. Krishnaidu said, I won the ANC is testimony to what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yes, because that is where even Ellen Shabalala said, no, but when we are here, we are all members of the ANC, but me, I'm here to do what I'm supposed to do, which is the right thing, and I must protect, not Hlaudi, all the employees of the SABC.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. So
Thank
if that can be followed up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just for record purposes, in paragraph 7 and 62 of Mr. Motsoeneng's affidavit, he mentions certain information that is requested from the investigators of the commission, but it is
Yes.
not stated what information he did not
Yes.
get, he did not
Okay.
receive. I
Okay.
think we also were given thousands of documentation by the
Yes.
SAPC. It's difficult without at least
Some
narrowing it
indication,
down,
yeah,
some
yeah.
indication as to exactly what is it that he's looking for.
Yes.
Thank you,
I
Chair.
think he will provide where he can.
Where he can.
Some narrowing of information so that it would be easier to look for it.
Yes.
Mr. Motsoeneng?
Chairperson, I want to say that I have worked well with the team, your team, the investigators. I don't want to lie. I may raise those issues that I didn't get 1, 2, 3, but they have been trying their best to assist me.
Okay.
But one portion that I am aware of,
Yes.
which also they are aware of,
Yeah.
I ask Chairperson, the rediffusion meeting, I think I was also referring to those issues where I was part and SABC were dealing with those issues. And then they said, no, they don't have such. They give them the minutes when they knew that they've got those archives. Because SABC, what did they give you, Chairperson? They hide the information. They give what suits them. They don't give you the truth.
Thank you, Chair.
No, no, that's fine. Just make sure that whatever it is, whatever information you think is really relevant to the commission that you know of, that should be obtainable from the SAPC, just make sure the legal team gets the gets exactly what they must ask for, and then they'll ask for it, and I'm sure that we should get it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And in paragraphs 59, 60, and 61, you're quoting from minutes of a special meeting of the 1st of July 2011. But what I could not find, Mr. Motsoeneng, is the transcription certificate and who transcribed, were these minutes of the board, and whether somebody had recorded using a particular device and then transcribed. Because even the format is different. Show you that would appear from pages 131 to 163.
Page?
page 131
131.
to 163. That will be under divider number 6. Maybe, do you want to page through, Mr. Motsoeneng? Or are you happy you know what you're talking about?
I know. I know.
1312,
To 136, Chair.
136,
Oh, I beg your pardon, to 163.
163.
Yes.
Yeah, what is that?
This appears to be a transcript. It purports to be a transcript of special meeting of the board of 1 July 2011. It's completely different from all the minutes that you had received, and I wanted to find out from Mr. Motsoeneng as to whether he's the one who transcribed this and whether he obtained it from the SAPC.
Chairperson, I have these transcripts
Yes.
long ago when I was still at the SABC. I received the transcripts from the secretary of the SABC board, Teresa Halden-Hayes. That is the transcript.
That's where you got it from?
Yes.
Yes. That is now the special meeting of the board of 1 July 2011. I think that's what they are is written in page 131.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, all right.
So did she give you a recording only just this, or just this transcript?
I think she gave me a recording, Chair, but I could not play it. I could not. She gave me a recording and transcripts.
Or she gave you both?
Yes, but for me...
The recording, you could not listen to it?
Yes,
you
I could not listen to it.
Yeah.
But I think SABC, they have the recordings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What is the gist of this transcript that what is the issue that you want to convey to the chairperson by putting up the transcript?
I want to say to you, Chairperson,
I think that was about the resolution for your appointment, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Chair. This is about, it goes with the, in those paragraphs, it deals with the fact that there were moves to remove him or to unsettle him.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Yes, well, let him tell us.
Chairperson, I think some people, when they were appointing me, they were thinking that this matriculus will just do what we want. That is...
That is now, you're talking about some of the people in the board, on the board.
Yes, Chairperson.
Yes.
Because we were having discussion, and sometimes they will tease, but Hlaudi, you don't even have matric. It seems as it's a favor from where I was analyzing it and interpreting it.
Yes.
And Chairperson, I'm very firm. And you can't influence me if I don't agree with you easily. Well, people, sometimes they influence me, I agree with them because they are correct, Chairperson. But I think people were thinking that it's a favor. And for me, I believe I deserve it and I was capable, Chairperson, because in all these issues, Chairperson, and that is where the public protector also missed a point. When I went to her, I said no. After joining the SABC as the acting COO, I realized that the executive, sometimes they could not challenge the board or give the board correct information. Because sometimes people are afraid of dismissal, Chairperson, to challenge, and then you are afraid. I said to her, that is what I realized, that some of the board resolution, they were impossible. Example, Chairperson, when they were presenting in Parliament, most of the time they were saying, no, digital migration will have 18 channels. But where this information will come from, which means it's management. Maybe they wish they want 18 channels, but reality, if you can't sustain 3 channels, how can you say you are going to have 18 channels? And then I said to the public protector, I think I accept that when people were presenting in board, they also misled the board, not me, because I'm the one who, if I disagree, I disagree. The board knows that, Chairperson. That's why sometimes I was fighting with the board. They chase me away, I come back. So that is the reason, Chairperson. One day, Chairperson, I was called in a meeting by a board member. But in any case, the board member, he was thinking that the GCO is there, which is correct. I mean, according to the protocol of the SABC, a board member will call the GCO. Unfortunately, when the GCO is not there, it was me. I was calling a meeting. In that meeting is where a board member called business people outside SABC to come and discuss the business of the SABC. It is these issues of tenders and so on, to come and discuss these issues. So they called me, and when I came, people didn't know that it's me. So I went, and then they introduced people, and I'm not going to mention their names, Chairperson. I don't want to do that, because I'm not here to, because I did not accept, I did not agree with them, and we agree, including the board member. So I was called in that meeting. We were discussing this issue. The first point that I raised in front of a board member, I said, you as business people, and these are big companies, Chairperson, I said, even if we talk here, but you should not take it as a given, because a board member is in this meeting. We as management, we take decision. So they oversee. So don't think that you are going to get whatever. I put it clear, Chairperson. Even in boards, I reported the matter to say, I was concerned that a board member called a meeting. But I can say, Chairperson, I didn't have difficulties with the board member. We understand each other. But I'm just demonstrating that I stand for what I believe in, what is correct. No one can bulldoze me, because wrong is wrong, Chairperson. You can't give me wrong instruction. Because if it's wrong instruction, I will say, no, I can't do it. So this issue of the transcript, Chairperson, it seems, because it is quoted there, you know what? Do you like Hlaudi? No, there were discussion. And then the person said, yeah, I like Hlaudi a lot, but I think he should not sit in our meeting, because him and Robin Nicholson, hey, very close, tight, these people. We can't serve our interest. What is saving our interest? You can't save your own interest. You must serve the interest of the corporation. It goes further, Chairperson, to say that we must pay our comrade weight. These people are stumbling block. Hlaudi is a stumbling block. At least the Chairperson, they succeed to remove Nicholson. They did not succeed to remove me until they left the SABC. But what I'm demonstrating, Chairperson, if you read that transcript, and I don't want to mention the names, if you read that transcript, it talks to the issue of people going to the SABC as board members because they are deployed by political party or political parties, and they want to pay their own comrades and also serve their own interests. It is wrong, Chairperson. That is what I have been fighting within the SABC, Chairperson. These people that are tarnishing my name, I have been fighting for a good cause, for a public broadcaster.
Now, you said something about, about you and Mr. Nicholson. When you said whatever you said, I thought you meant that the two of you maybe would fight at board meetings, and that's why whoever was speaking was suggesting that maybe you should not come to the board meetings, maybe because they can't make progress, because the two of you would be arguing or fighting over certain issues. But maybe you meant that the two of you stood together against certain things, yourself and Mr. Nicholson. Which is it, or is it something completely different?
I think, Chairperson, after people realize that they cannot bulldoze me, they realize that, hey, we have appointed the wrong person here. Actually, we're not supposed to appoint this one. And Mr. Robin Nicholson, Chairperson, I want to use his word because he was sometimes teasing to say he's a bull, but not in a bad way. I mean, you stand your grounds. So Nicholson will stand his own grounds about issues that he doesn't believe in, Chairperson. I think they were just trying to remove people like us so that they can serve their own interest and pay their own comrades. And I believe that people have been doing that, making sure that I'm out at the SABC. And also, Chairperson, if you check the statement of Christian Ido, it attests to that history of the SABC, Chairperson. But also, Chairperson, I must say that other board members, they have been supporting me. They have been agreeing with us that no, the board should not get into the operation of the SABC, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
And also, Chair, the tarnishing of my name when it comes to media is also there. They are saying, no, we can control media. Yes, Chairperson, is there in that transcript? They can control,
It's in
so
those
maybe
minutes.
I'm not putting as a fact, maybe this tarnish, they have been controlling media.
Thank you, Chair. And then from paragraph 66 to 72, you deal with the Gupta family. You already dealt with this yesterday when you mentioned that you had visited the families, the Gupta family's home several times, and you had dinners and lunches there. That's what you said. But what you say in paragraph 72 is this: I have met other influential business people, but strangely, I have never been queried about them. Is this, are you directing this to the commission that it has asked you to deal with this aspect, or are you just saying that generally nobody asks you about other influential people?
I think it will be unfair for me to direct this to commission.
Yes.
Commission has nothing to do with this, Chairperson. What I was just alluding, it is not the commission who is saying, Hlaudi, bad, these people who did this. The commission has never said that. I was just saying people generally. They will say, these people met the Kuptas, blah, blah, but we are always having many meetings with other business people, Chairperson. It has nothing to do with the commission.
Yes, thank you. And in paragraph 70, you stated that you never received any gifts or money or forms of gratification from the Gupta family.
Correct.
Yes. Maybe just one question I have. You stated yesterday how you then took Ms. Makobo to the Gupta family to meet them and for her to be congratulated. Did you do the same with other people that were doing business with the SABC?
No, Chair. I took her because, as I said yesterday, it was part of handover. Introduce her to other business people, not the Kuptas only. I think I introduced her to other people. She did the same thing to me, Chairperson. The issue about the Kuptas, Chairperson, because I must tell you the truth. I said I was looking to capture them. And this capturing, Chairperson, it will also address the negativity of media, generally, to say, but as media, we need to find a way of portraying also good stories about South Africa, because not everything is bad about South Africa. And also, Chairperson, we are having that partnership, you know, that with a New Age. I saw an opportunity to say these people, they have these nice jets, helicopters, why we as SABC, we must pay. So those were the issues, Chairperson, that I was trying to make sure that at least SABC also benefit from this partnership.
Yes.
You refer to the jet. Do you want SABC people to benefit from the jet? You use it as well, or what?
Sorry, Chair?
I'm saying you refer to the fact that they had a jet or private jet, And I'm asking why that one is important, whether you had in mind that since you had a partnership with them about the new age, your SABC should be able to use the jet as well, or what?
Chairperson, because normally we pay. I mean, and you know, it's expensive to fly to Cape Town and everywhere.
Yes.
But I was thinking that because we have this partnership, we can say, but we are partnering in this project. I mean, if we have trips, why can't we use your what do you call it, your jet? Because for us, maybe they can say, no, but you'll put fuel, it's fine, we don't have a problem. So it minimizes the cost of the SABC. The same issue, Chairperson, that I did with a MultiChoice partnership, because in my view, I was saying, well, although must carry says that you must carry SABC, but partly I think you are also benefiting. Why can't you invest and assist the SABC, which they did, Chairperson?
Thank you. Now that you're on MultiChoice, we'll move from paragraphs 22 to 25. You deal with MultiChoice matters in ETV. And could you just link that to the broader MultiChoice issue that you deal with from paragraph 73 onwards? Could you tell the chairperson why and on what basis was MultiChoice approached and up to the conclusion of the agreement with MultiChoice briefly?
Chair, maybe through your permission, Chairperson.
Yes.
I also received a notice from the Commission, Mr. Kruger, implicating me in some of these aspects. So, but Chairperson, you will decide. In my view, because I'm implicated on that matter, I think the implicator, the one who's implicating me, he must give evidence first so that I can respond on his evidence, because he's implicating me. He's the one who's talking about other issues there. In this MultiChoice issue, Chairperson, I think it will be fair for me to come to respond because already he's implicating me, rather than me to go and then he implicates me, he's going to come after me. Yes.
Well, what you can do is you can tell the Commission what you know about the transaction, and if after he has given evidence, there is a need for you to come back and deal with what he said about you, then you can be given a chance. How is that?
Sure.
Yeah. So in other words, if you are asked questions and it's something you know, you answer that. As far as I know, this is the position. But when he has given evidence, and to the extent that he implicates you, and it's something you have not dealt with, you can come back and be given a chance to deal with it.
I think it will be unfair, Chairperson.
Tell me why.
Reason being, the man is implicating me on certain aspects.
Yes.
Because...
and you don't know what he has to say about it.
Sorry, Chair?
You don't know what he says.
I have seen a portion, Chairperson, of what he's saying.
Yes.
But because he's implicating me, he must tell the story so that I'm able to respond, because I don't want to respond piecemeal.
Yeah.
As staff chairperson. He's the one who's implicated me. I want him to come and give evidence so that I can come and reply, Chairperson, because there are some issues that he's raising there. But I don't want to, because I can't give commission, Chairperson, without dealing with these issues. But because he has, if he didn't implicate me, come after, no problem, Chairperson.
Ms. Newman, I'm not sure what you may have to say about that.
Chair, indeed, there are allegations, especially in particular in paragraph 47 of Mr. Kruger's statement, where he says, however, a change of ministers again put the STB control system further in dispute when Minister Faith Mutambi, with full support from Mr. Motsoeneng, decided to go against the government and ANC recommendations that a STB control system be implemented in the DTT network. So that is the extent, as far as I can recall. Chair, what it means then is that Mr. Motsoeneng's evidence on this aspect would have to be heard again after tomorrow, after Mr. Kruger testifies tomorrow, and then possibly continue with him. Then he addresses what Mr. Kruger says, but it just disrupts the entire plan, really.
Yes.
Not to finish evidence.
I'll tell you, Mr. Motsoeneng, what my thinking is, without having really looked at what he has to say. I look at the fact that you say, I'm here to just tell the Commission what I know and to explain my decisions the way I understood them, and the Commission will decide, if I was right or wrong, but I'll tell the Commission what I know, and it's the truth. I look at it from that angle, and from the angle that it's not really like in a court case, where you are facing each other. It's an inquiry. But I'm not wanting to make a ruling. I'm not wanting to make a ruling at this stage. I'm just sharing with you what my thinking is, because based on that, it may be that we can make progress. What I was thinking was, you might be able to say, look, I will answer what I can. But in regard to certain things, maybe that somebody else might say about me, I might have to come back and deal with them. But in terms of that which I can deal with, I'm happy to deal with. That was my thinking, that you might be able to say, what I know, I can tell you. But if I don't ask me about certain things because I don't understand exactly what he's saying about me, maybe he should come and explain what he says about me. Then I can come back. I'm just thinking aloud what I'm thinking to see whether that might help us to make progress.
Sorry, excuse me, Chair. Counsel for Mr. Motsoeneng would like to address you. Thank you.
Let's hear.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Chair, remember one of the issues which is quite pertinent in terms of Section 34 of the Constitution is the right to access a forum. And this is the only time that Mr. Motsoeneng can be able to address this forum, this inquiry. And I'm aware that we are using an inquisitorial approach here. And I would suggest to the Commission and through to you, Chair, that you can address the multi-choice issues as contained in his affidavit, excluding the testimony of Mr. Creer. And then when Mr. Creer has given his evidence, only then can he take a stand, because we're not sure whether Mr. Creer is going to implicate him or is going to retract or amend his statement. We don't know what can happen on the witness stand. So I would suggest that we proceed with what is contained in his affidavit and then put in hiatus the issues of Mr. Creer's testimony. Those will be my submissions, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, no, thank you. Ms. Norman, what do you think about that?
Chair, I think that would be the best way of dealing with it. But again, Chair, the 3.3 invites the implicated person to give a version to a particular issue, which is what we have done as the Commission, which is the implication that is contained in those few paragraphs. I don't think it would hurt Mr. Motsoeneng to just deal roughly with that allegation. Because if it is untrue, he can easily say that whatever it is that Mr. Kruger says that it is untrue, and then he can elaborate if he wishes. But really, the implication does not, because it defeats the whole purpose of a version to a Rule 3.3, because it would mean now that before a person can respond to a Rule 3.3 notice, that person must allow the implicator to actually give evidence first. I mean,
has he not responded to the statement?
No, unfortunately, Chair, he has filed a supplementary, Mr. Motsoeneng has filed a supplementary statement on Monday this week. But that supplementary statement doesn't deal with the versions, like as I have been putting the implications. He doesn't say, insofar as Kruger says, this is what I say, Mr. Kruger says, this is what I say, insofar as Ms. Pillay says, this is what I say. So that doesn't, it's still a very general statement, and I believe that the work of the commission would be best served if it deals with the multi-choice issue now. And as you've suggested earlier, Chair, to the extent that he feels that he might want to elaborate after Mr. Kruger has testified, then he may just do that by way of an affidavit, and Chair can decide whether he should come back to testify to that.
Well, another approach which may be in line with what his counsel has indicated might be to say, if he didn't deal with those allegations in his supplementary statement or affidavit, is to say, is that he be asked to do so.
Yes.
Because part of having the benefit of a written response is to see what will be admitted and what will not be admitted.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that if there isn't such a written response, that maybe he be asked to provide such a written response. But in the meantime, maybe in line with the suggestion from his counsel, we cover what we can on the understanding that he will file a supplementary statement that will deal with what he didn't answer, and then depending on what the other person will say, he might have to come back and deal with it. If the other person comes and says, no, I think I was mistaken, or something like that, then it falls away.
No, true, sure. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So if it's fine, let's deal with it on that basis, that he will you'll ask him about the parts that don't relate to what he must still file in a supplementary affidavit about.
Yes, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay, yes.
So just briefly, Chair, there's
Yes.
one issue. When Mr. Motsoeneng was served with a number of Rule 33 notices pertaining to a number of witnesses, they were coming in a cascading fashion, and we were not sure now whether to respond immediately or not. And we wrote
Yes.
a letter through the instructing attorney
Yes.
to the commission to say that we cannot have these Rule 33 notices in a piecemeal fashion,
Yes,
because
yes.
it sort of restricts him, because when he's
Yes.
about to answer one, and
Another
another
one
one
comes
is in the
in, yes.
inbox again.
Yes.
Rather, give us all the statements that implicate him, then we will, in one swift action,
Yes.
reply to them all, so that
Yes.
we'll deal with all the issues.
Yes.
And that has always been our approach,
Yeah.
and that's what we intimated and indicated to the Secretariat of the Commission.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
No, that's fine. I think,
Chair, maybe just on that, it is impossible to wait for all the 3-3s, because the commission doesn't know who's going to implicate who. So as the
Yes.
statements come,
Yeah.
notices get issued.
the sooner they
Yes,
arrive, yes.
True.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
You
the
never
work of
know
the-
whether you have got all of them
Precisely,
now, because
yes.
other implicated persons don't
Yes.
respond.
Yes, Chair, that
Yes.
is the reality of the situation.
No, that's
Yes.
fine, but I think what can be done is that an arrangement can be made in terms of which by a certain date he will file a supplementary affidavit or statement
Yes.
dealing with everything that he has not dealt with.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Shall we then proceed, Chair? Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Motsoeneng, you heard the chairperson's directive. Those matters that you do not wish to deal with, then we could deal with them separately in writing, as your counsel has suggested to Chair.
Chair, I'm in your hands.
Yes. No,
Yes,
that's.
Chair.
I think you are in. You won't be unhappy with this arrangement, I think.
Not at all, Chairperson.
Yes, okay,
Thank you, Chair.
So
Yes.
what will remain is just that a deadline be agreed
Yes,
between
Chair.
the two legal teams as to when that will happen.
When that will happen.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Motsoeneng, I had asked, how did, we know of the MultiChoice and the SABC agreement. Could you just tell the chairperson what brought that about? What was at the initial stages of the 24-hour channel planning, and could you just take the chair through that?
Chairperson, thank you very much. I think it is very important to give background about the multi-choice issues. MultiChoice and SABC, we have been working together when it comes to sports rights, when it comes to other issues relating to broadcasting issues. But the issue that was a concern, not for me, not for SABC, but for all people of South Africa, it was why SABC is not having a 24-hour news channel. Why ETV is having a 24-hour news channel. Those were the issues and the background. What informs, and is not here, Chairperson, is not a partnership here. Yes, it's not a partnership. Firstly, after pressure from the public, including the portfolio committee, to say why you don't have such channels, I think the former GCO Hlaudi Motsoeneng and Dr. Ngubane approach the MultiChoice to say, but we have many channels there, why can't you cater for SABC also, so that we also compete with other broadcasters, because we are competing, Chairperson, we are broadcasters. They went and engaged MultiChoice. I think I did allude to that, Chairperson, yesterday. And the board, they were not happy about that process, but they rectify that process. And after that, the board approved that channel. The only issue that was outstanding, it was the financials of the SABC, because the agreement between the former GCO Hlaudi Motsoeneng and the MultiChoice, they were funding SABC 50 million for 5 years. But that 50 million, they were saying the first year is 50, it goes down by 10 until it's 0. Because in their view, they were thinking SABC will sustain itself through advertisers, sponsorship, all those adverts, because that is how we broadcasters generate revenue, Chairperson. So
Before you proceed, Mr. Motsoeneng, I just want to understand, and you must appreciate that one is not in this sector. If ETV could have a 24-hour channel, or if somebody else could have 24-hour news channel, why wouldn't SAP have its own news channel without going to somebody else to find a partner or find some assistance of some kind? Was that because it would have been too expensive or what?
Chairperson, as a public broadcaster, SABC, it is SABC mandate to have more channels and serve the public interest. News channel is one of the public interest that people of South Africa are looking at, so that that information can be spread in the country, even outside the country, as it is happening now, because the channel is not just in South Africa, it's across the borders of other countries. So, Chairperson, I said we are competing. We are a broadcaster, we are a public broadcaster. So, a partnership, Chairperson, that was not the view, when especially it comes to this issue, because I think people who approach, they approach to say, we want our own 24-hour news channel, Chairperson. And if you are happy about that, Chairperson, can I move on?
No, I'm not sure that I understand it. Here is SABC,
Yes,
public broadcaster, big institution, has the support of government. It wants a 24-hour news channel. Why must it go to MultiChoice
Oh, okay, Chair, I see.
in order to achieve what it wants, namely to have a 24-hour news channel?
Chairperson, we don't have a bouquet like MultiChoice. They have many. That's why we have many channels.
Which are already existing.
Yes, Chairperson. The only issue that we have is only 3 channels.
Yes.
During the migration, that is where the question that you are talking about it will arise.
Yes.
To say, but you have this transmitters now, why do you want MultiChoice?
Yes.
But currently, only MultiChoice can spread news for SABC, Chairperson.
Okay, so now in order to have a channel, do you need to be licensed by ICASA or somebody? And because they may have licensed somebody else like MultiChoice and given them permission to have many channels, it would be difficult to go to ICASA and say, we want a channel of our own. That's where I'm trying to understand why, if I want a car, why must I go to Mr. Motsoeneng and say, hey, I want to buy a car? Why don't I just buy the car myself without talking to you?
Chairperson, maybe to put in a language that I think all of us will understand. Let's take 3 channels, SABC. We only have those 3 transmitters, which means you can't go beyond those 3 channels in that platform of the SABC.
Yes, yes.
You can only do that during a migration, because now you'll be allowed.
Technologically, you could not do it. You could not, SABC could not have another channel of its own during the period of what, analog, is that what it's called?
Yes, yes.
That was the position.
Yes, Chairperson.
But MultiChoice already had a number of transmitters or channels.
Okay, yes, Chairperson.
And SABC could acquire another channel by having an agreement with MultiChoice.
Yes, Chairperson.
Okay.
And
now I
also,
understand.
Chairperson, I think the important background is this channel, it is a pilot project for digital migration.
Oh, okay.
Which means when we migrate, those channels are not going to sit in the bouquet of MultiChoice.
Yes.
They will move to SABC.
Yes, okay, all right. So that's why they had to go to MultiChoice.
Yes,
Dr.
Chairperson.
Or the chairperson and the GCEO.
Yes, Chairperson.
Yes, okay. Continue.
So, Chairperson.
There was the problem of 50 million rand, which was going to go down every year until it came to 0. Yeah, I think when I interrupted you, you were talking about that.
Yes, Chairperson. So the board said, no, they can't have this channel because it is not sustainable. I think we even make a request from Treasury to fund the channel. The former minister, Pravin Gordhan, rejected that proposal. And the former minister, Dainapule, said, because there is no money now, you can do whatever that you need to do if you could do it so that you have channel. But she was not saying, go and do 1, 2, 3. She was just saying broadly, so, Chairperson. I decided, Chairperson, to approach MultiChoice after we failed, after Melulama and Dr. Ngobani failed to acquire the amount that can sustain the channel.
The 50 million rand.
Yes, Chairperson.
Yes.
I think also, Chairperson, to clarify, I think it was 50 SABC said, no, it is not sustainable. I think they top up with another 20 million.
Yes.
which was 70 million, but it was not sustainable, Chairperson. That chapter was closed, the Chairperson. So no, there is no channel. After the chapter has been closed, as I was saying, Chairperson, you need thinkers and you need to have people with certain skills to deal with innovation of channels. I went back to MultiChoice to say to them, look, we still need 24-hour news channel. But I consulted Dr. Ngubane before I can do that, Chairperson. And Dr. Ngubane said, hey, Hlaudi, you are crazy, man. Young man, you are crazy. Do you think when MultiChoice could not give us money, they will give you money? I said, Chairperson, give me an opportunity. I will do that. I think I can achieve this funding. I was just talking, Chairperson, and then Dr. Ngubane said, no, it's fine. You can go and engage them. I went and engaged them, Chairperson. It was not easy, Chairperson. We were fighting because when I approached the CEO of MultiChoice, he said to me, Hlaudi, sometimes it seems as we are mad. And I said, this is a good madness because it's in the interest of the SABC. Reason being, Chairperson, when I motivated these issues of us, I said, you as a private sector now, you are also benefiting, directly so or indirectly so, because our 3 channels, they are sitting in your bouquet, and people are watching our channels, and they are most watched channels. He said, no, but there is mass carry regulations. I said, no, I'm aware about regulations, but I think you can assist the SABC for digital migration. You can fund 24-hour news channel so that when we migrate, at least SABC, we have these channels, and also partly because you have benefited because of mass carry regulations. And to deal with mass carry regulations, Chairperson, because when there was that process of talking to people, the government view was SABC, all people of South Africa should be able to watch SABC because they don't want SABC to people on satellite not to see what government is doing or the events in the country generally. They want to make sure that it's broadened. SABC is available everywhere. That's why you have that mass carry regulations, Chairperson. So after that, Chairperson, after that discussion, we discussed, we did not conclude immediately. Because, Chairperson, I remember the men walk out, just walk out. And then I was laughing alone. I said, no, he doesn't know me. I'm going to fight this battle, Chairperson, that they must assist the SABC. And then I think, tempers, sometimes it goes up, but at a certain point you find yourself. And then I asked my PA to call him to say, we must talk, not about just 404, including sports rights, all those issues, Chairperson. And then he came, and then in that meeting we found each other. We found each other because I explained to him why we should have this channel, and I was also aware that MultiChoice is paying for ETV channel that is sitting in that bouquet, and other channels, they're also sitting there, news channels. So I said, no, you must assist a public broadcaster. I don't think it's a bad thing to assist a public broadcaster chairperson, which chairperson, at the end of the road, they agree with us. So the negotiations, we started the negotiations within SABC looking for funding chairperson so that they can, because even if we're having the many channels in that SABC chairperson, you will never succeed if you don't have funds. You must secure funds and you can have channels. That is the background, chairperson.
No, thank you very much for the background.
Thank you, Chair.
I see we are 2 minutes past 4 or
Yes,
so.
thank you, Chair. No. Well, I was going to suggest that we adjourn, Chair.
Yes.
And then possibly tomorrow we could start at 9 o'clock to
Yes.
try and cover all the other aspects with Mr. Motsoeneng
Yes.
before we
Yes.
call the next witness, whose flight has to departs at 2:30.
Yes.
So what it means, we really have to try and fit that witness quite early.
Yes.
But with your leave, Chair, but I still think that even if we were to start at 10 o'clock, we should be able to cover, because it's just now a few
Yeah.
matters that are left to deal with Mr. Motsoeneng.
Yeah, we could start a little early. I do have 2 or so commission meetings. I think the next one, which starts in the next few minutes, or
Yes.
1:15.
Maybe we could, but we can still
Maybe,
do 10
Mr.
o'clock.
Motsoeneng, we thought you would be able to finish today, but we had too many questions for you, and we are not done. So would you be able to come back tomorrow?
Chairperson, through Chairperson, I was thinking, Chairperson, if we finalize the multi-choice,
Yes.
when I come tomorrow, I deal with other matters, Chair.
Yes.
Because I think it's easier to, I don't know what
Yes.
the advocate is going to ask me, but I think we can
Yes,
finalize that.
The only challenge, Chair,
Yeah.
because of the continuous hearings,
Yes.
the only time we are able to see
consult
witnesses,
other
and-
witnesses
yes, is
is-
only
is
after 4.
after.
Yeah,
Yes,
Chair,
yes.
that's the only challenge we have.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes quite often we go beyond 4 and go to 5. Sometimes we've gone
Yes.
to even 6. I think 1 or 2 occasions we've gone even up to 7.
Yes.
One week we sat on a Saturday, and sometime before the end of September we'll sit on another Saturday as well. So we do go beyond 4 o'clock sometimes. But I think Ms. Newman has that challenge, but also I have some other commission meetings that are urgent. I would have liked that we do as much as possible. Otherwise, I could even have gone up to 6 if everybody was fine. So maybe because of that, let's start early tomorrow, if that's fine.
Might I just
yes.
inquire whether they are available?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. They'll make themselves
They are
available
fine.
for
They'll make
tomorrow.
themselves
Yes,
available.
thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. Let's start therefore at 9 o'clock tomorrow, so that we can cover as much as possible and
Thank you.
finish as early as possible with regard to his evidence.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to adjourn. Then tomorrow we'll start at 9 o'clock.
Thank you, Chair.
We adjourn.